on May 14th, Siren Head ate my dog. His name was Dookie. If you don't remember, let's get that flashback. No, not that flashback.
Two to the one, from the one to the three. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe. And I get more ass than a toilet seat. Three to the one, from the one to the three.
Hi, Blue. You like Siren? Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Hi.
Huh?
That sucker ate my dog! Huh? Porky? Yeah, y'all remember, don't y'all? Today ain't gonna be no normal day. Today, I'ma show him a little something, you know? How he actually think he about to get away with eating up my dog.
Who the frick calls the dog Dookie?
Who said? Oh. So what we gonna do? We gonna find where that bum lives, and we gonna. So enough said. Today we're gonna be reacting to the origin of Siren Head. I got a few snacks with me. Pop-Tarts, the blueberry flavor. I don't even know what my parents. Well, I got the blueberry flavor. I guess flavor. I guess I'm just trying to try something new. But without further ado, I didn't even do my what's poppin'. What's poppin'? It is your boy Andre Pierre back again with another video. And today we're gonna be reacting to the origination of Siren Head animated version. Let's get it. There's also a part 2 of this, so let me know if y'all wanna listen to it or react to it with me.
Of course it would decide to come back today.
Who?
Of all
That
days.
bum Siren Head?
Any foggy day is fair game.
Shotty in the background.
But today, if it was smart enough to keep track of time, I'd say it was mocking me. It would have been easy
There's
to stay
Dookie.
home that day. Maybe
Oh,
do something useful.
That's Dookie.
Help pond the fields, or hang the washing up to dry like Ma asked.
Wait, what'd he say?
The sun was so warm
Oh,
and
he said
inviting.
mom asked.
A
I thought
perfect
it said
summer
something
day
else.
like that couldn't be wasted. But even then, there's a million other things a kid could have done in a farm bathed in sunshine. Plenty of places I could have gone. Of course,
Which I
they
gotta go
told
to
us to
the
stay
woods.
out of the woods, but I always sneaked out, and they never stopped me. I thought Ma was paranoid. Who ever heard of people disappearing in those woods? That's the kind of stuff you hear in children's books.
I'm trying
Ma
to be quiet.
gave that indifferent, listen to your mother nod whenever Ma brought it up. Probably too busy to care what she was lecturing me about. Despite it all, I figured this is real life, not some fairy tale. There's nothing but critters and mischief out
I
there.
want to see that Siren Head.
What really sent me into the
Oh,
woods that
games,
day
eh?
was naivete,
It's all fun and games.
bravery, and a girl named Caroline. Even after thinking about it all these years, I can't quite put my finger on the moment things
He
went
know
wrong.
he finna get bit.
Maybe I just wasn't alert or observant enough. Milo sure was, though. Good old boy. His walk got more and more tense, and he started growling.
That
He
ain't gonna
always did
intimidate
that
you.
when meeting new people,
You're not
so
gonna be like,
it was easy to
Alright, time to
dismiss.
turn back.
By that time, we were getting pretty deep into the woods, and I expected her to pop out from behind a tree at any second. She was definitely nearby, but I couldn't find her. And then she started calling my name,
She dead.
asking me to find her.
She dead.
Jackson, here. Jackson, come.
Her voice
Don't do it.
was muffled, staticky, or maybe she was just further away from the spot where we said we'd meet. She wasn't as familiar with the woods as I was, so
Yeah,
I started to worry that she'd gotten lost, even though she
Was your
didn't
dog
sound
in?
scared.
Nah.
I arrived at the meeting spot, an old stump that kind of looked like it had a face carved into it. The woods were darker, the trees much taller and more dense, and there seemed to be fewer creatures around. It was quiet. No bird calls
like
or
that.
squirrels scurrying up and down the tree trunks.
I don't like that.
I called to her a few times,
you don't
but
like it
she
either.
just kept calling for me to
What is
come.
he wearing, bruh?
Milo was still on edge.
He got
I
the
was starting to
knockoff
feel
Timberlands.
tense too. That could have been when things went wrong.
Timberlands.
After a few minutes, I was worried that she had hurt herself and needed my help.
Oh yeah.
So I went off in the direction of her voice, deeper into the woods. I called to her
Why-
over
why is-
and over,
She promotes
getting more
saying
concerned
the same
with
thing.
every passing minute. The tree trunks were immense, and I can't say that the tales of people disappearing at the hands of a forest-dwelling monster didn't cross my mind.
Nope.
In my head, I was preparing a speech to recite for Caroline when I found her. Something about sending me on a wild goose chase through the woods and making me worry about her. She sounded like she was nearby, but something about her voice was freaking me out.
Yeah, look at
I
Dookie's
thought
face.
about turning back and calling it quits, but I felt like I was getting close.
Close to death.
Then Milo started barking the
His name is
loudest
Milo? I
I'd
thought
ever
it
heard
was
him,
Dookie.
and darted back and
His name is
forth
Dookie. Of
around
course his
me.
name is Dookie.
I panicked and backed up too quickly, tripping over a root and falling. A sharp pain shot up my leg. From the forest floor, I looked up at the canopy, and my jaw dropped.
It's that
Standing
bum.
at least 40 feet tall was the nastiest
40 feet.
combination of man and machine I'd ever seen. Its arms and legs were so thin, I could see the outlines of veins and bones beneath the skin.
You should go to the
There wasn't a
NBA.
bit of flesh on its torso
You do
either.
great.
Looked like a vacuum-sealed skeleton. But the creepiest part
Built
was its
built
head,
like a
or
giant-sized
lack
Twizzler, bro.
of a head. Atop its neck were a pair of sirens facing in opposite directions. No eyes or ears, but it did have mouths inside those sirens. And as I looked up at it,
That one was kind of boring. I'm not even gonna lie. So there is a sequel. I think the sequel isn't related to the prequel, but let's just do this. This is the creation. Oh yeah, this is the action, baby. Oh, I must have missed a bunch of stuff. There's Dookie. Look at his face. I'm dumb. You like? Hey, bro. You got some cookie? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's about time. Been wondering if you were gonna wake up at all.
Oh, you look like a whole hobo over there.
where am I? How did I get here?
Yeah, tell me where that sucker lives so I can find him.
I imagine the same way I did. Him.
Right. I guess I never considered it had a gender. It was always just this thing. This monster.
Name's Charlotte. And if it's any consolation, I'm sorry your luck has brought you here.
My name's Jackson.
Michael.
Same to you.
What's your story? Clearly you already know about the Siren Head. Have you had run-ins with him before?
You could say that.
Bro, there's crumbs all on my
You took my
laptop.
mom.
Bro, that's why you shouldn't sneak food upstairs, kids. But I'ma still do it, you know what I'm saying? Now look at little Dookie. If you hurt him,
I'll admit I've never fully recovered.
bro,
I mean, I
use
went
your
after
little
the guy
super
with this
speed and
axe
just
a
dip.
shotgun. How nutty must I have been? Every night for years, when I laid my head down,
These pop tarts actually are pretty good. I'm not even gonna
and
cap.
the chirp of the crickets I heard. It was the distorted, muffled voice of my mother speaking to me. It was Siren Head.
Wow. That all sounds really rough. I know you probably heard it from everyone close to you, but it isn't your fault,
Look at her
Jackson.
ears.
Oh, I know it isn't my fault. It's his. Now tell me, How did you find yourself down here?
Mine might not be as tragic as yours, but it is complicated to say the least. In my former life, I was a doctor. Well, at least I was training to be one.
Alright.
When it all began, I was simply a resident, under the tutelage of the master surgeon, Dr. Vincent Henderson.
Tenderson?
God, did I respect that man. There was no problem he couldn't fix, big or small. Man, if he wasn't set on fixing everything he could. Luckily, I felt the same way. I thought the two of us could change the world. I would have followed him to the end of the earth. Sometimes it feels like I did.
What happened?
About 2 years into my
Emergency
residency, he became
children,
extremely
patients
focused
drop
on
off.
philanthropic aid.
Okay.
We started
All them
taking trips to
sidewalks.
hospitals in more impoverished areas, volunteering entire weekends at a time. He kept pushing me harder,
Trying to get
saying that
this
we needed to do
Pop-Tart in
more. It
between
was
my
our
teeth,
civic
bro.
duty. I was constantly exhausted. I couldn't catch a break. If it was anybody else, I would have given up and found a new surgeon to study under, but he was so inspiring. I pushed through so much exhaustion and pain for him and for the people we were helping. Invariably, there were patients that we could do nothing for. Either we were too late or they were too sick. Over
What do you mean
time,
by
I
too
started to
sick?
become accustomed to death, as most doctors do. But Vincent took it hard every single
Dang.
time. He
I'm
said
not
it felt
crying,
like
it's
he
just
personally
My
failed
eyes,
them.
bro.
One night, we were closing up his practice, and he pulled a bottle of gin out of his
Is
desk
that
drawer. Told me
lean?
I could stay for a drink if I'd like.
Is that
And
lean?
of course I did.
Or the
As the
Kool-Aid?
night went on, he got more and more distraught, going on his usual tirade, berating himself for not doing enough.
Drinking that
He
Gatorade.
said that every patient who died in his care was a life that he'd wasted. That stuck out to me. He never said that before. So I tried consoling him, saying that it wasn't up to him what they did with their lives. Then he looked at me intensely and said, "Maybe not, but there is something we can do with their deaths." He had me follow him into an exam room at the back of the practice, pushed a floor-to-ceiling storage cabinet aside to reveal a metal door that I'd never seen before.
FBI.
Milo! Hey, Milo, where are you?
No, Dookie. Get back. His name is Dookie, not Milo. Bro, how wet and dirty that shoe is?
Secret room.
You know, my dog
What's
Blue,
in there?
what he likes to do is like,
The room was a cold
he
storage
likes
unit.
to,
I'd never known
he
about
likes
it
to
all my
beat
months
up
of working
wasps.
with him.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I understand. Like, he'll be flying, and then he'll just go, and then start eating it. And like, he ate a roach
Unlocked
before.
it
I'm
and
like,
ushered me inside.
bruh, that's nasty, bro.
I
Quit.
remember the
it's
shock,
like-
mostly. And
Make me
smell.
that. And of course, well, I can't.
There were
'cause it's
4
super fast.
bodies
So,
laying
Andre,
on
shut
metal
up.
exam tables covered in thin white sheets. Panic started to rise, and every muscle in my body was ready to run, but a certain curiosity held me back. He walked to the first body and looked at me before lifting the sheet. It was a Caucasian male, about 40, bloated and extremely pale. His skull had been opened and sewn shut again, and there were pins sticking into his scalp. There was a speaker in his mouth, stretching his lips abnormally wide. The second body Vincent uncovered was a Middle Eastern female, no older than 30.
Bro, look at the one on
I
the
could tell had been
right.
beautiful before
Damn
she was
it.
hacked up. The third one
Oh
was
my-
very thin, probably someone who suffered from anorexia. She was definitely less
He put
bloated than the
horns
others,
in
but
them?
that could have been because the body was fresher. At this point, my mind was spinning and it felt hard to breathe. Vincent hardly showed any emotion at all, probably just trying to gauge my reaction.
I look like milk.
He did hesitate slightly before revealing the last body, though. I couldn't tell what it had been.
If you don't get on your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he has all 5 of his legs. But look at him. He looked like he got raisins. He melted all over his body, and then he aged in them.
The entire head had been removed. Instead of a neck, there was a metal pole
that's a little
sticking out from
baby
between
side
the
head.
shoulders, and mounted
Baby
on top
head.
of it was a large cone-shaped speaker. More like a megaphone or a siren than a speaker, really. The body was completely emaciated. The skin was leathery, almost like it had been mummified.
I'm gonna stop you right there. This long-winded speech of yours really just boils down to your buddy creating this monster. That's all it is, isn't it?
There's more to it. Really, we...
We? What do you mean, we?
Just listen. Right after he showed me all of that, he explained the project to me. He needed help, he said. The two of us were doing all that we could, but it wasn't enough. There was still enormous suffering, even
I really
within our
find where he
immediate
lived
community.
yet, cause
Through this loss of life, he said he could build
still
something
being gonna eat my
useful,
dog.
bodies to help aid us if he could reanimate them. This was going to be his greatest achievement, and he asked me to help him. He
Yes,
said
sir.
he was very close to finishing the project, and he was sure his next one would work, but the operation would be delicate and lengthy. He needed me.
So what? You're in love with this guy, and you just do anything he asks?
It was complicated. I didn't say
And
yes
love.
right away. I said I'd need time to think it over, which
Yeah.
he agreed to. I
Okay.
knew it was disrespectful to the people whose bodies he used. I knew it was
Bro,
unnatural.
why is her hair all
Seriously,
jacked
I
up?
was torn about it. I couldn't sleep at night. My devotion to him and my belief in his work were pitted against this grotesque and extremely illegal project. But he procured a body just a couple days later, and when he called on me to step up, I just couldn't refuse.
Procured a body? Jesus, did you never ask where he got them from?
Of course I did. I had a lot of questions. So many that I thought he would accuse me of prying and throw me out of his office, or worse. But he was always patient and answered every question with the same calm logic he used that first night. The bodies were from a colleague of his. With the number of
Colleague?
people that he helped, he'd won a ridiculous amount of favors and trust in the community.
Where you gonna get a whole
And
body
the
from
speakers.
LSU?
Oh, the muscles used to create speech are much harder to control than muscles in your arms or legs. These things didn't need to talk much, but if they were going to interact with our patients, they need to speak a little. So the
So
speakers
there's
were easier
multiple
than
siren
trying to get
heads.
their
He
mouths
trying
to
to
work.
kill people and make them siren
Well, he
heads.
only accomplished that once. On him. I wasn't even in the room for that part. He asked me to step out, but the rest of the operation was grueling. Prepping the body took nearly 20 hours. And then we had to remove the head, attach the sirens, string wires around, graft muscle onto metal,
Look at all them
cover
strings
the
at the
really
right.
gross-looking parts with extra skin. Felt more like an installation than an operation in some ways. He pumped that body full of
I'm
steroids,
getting
had it
goosebumps.
attached to huge monitors, used electric charges. It was so experimental. I had no idea how he came up with these techniques. If you could even call them that.
So I was right. You made it.
Sure, we both did. I felt conflicted the entire time, but once the thing came to
He
life,
just walking around?
you have to understand, I thought this would only lead to good things.
One day that sucker just gonna be walking around the park and everybody just gonna be like, and then like he gonna turn on him and then he just gonna start biting people and stuff and he gonna bite my dog. I see so many
Suffering.
problems with this.
I was proud to
They
some
don't-
extent. At first, it
I
seemed
guess
to
it's
go
just
really
my,
well. We would give it
instinct, my
simple
black
commands, and
instinct.
it would listen. We just kept him in
Now
his
notice how
office
there's no
doing
black
little
people. I'm
tasks under
sorry.
supervision.
I just had to get that out.
And I think
we've been watching
Vincent
this a
went
long
back
time.
and worked on him a little more without me. He started growing. And by all laws of logic, that shouldn't have happened. He wasn't truly, really alive. At least at first. He became more violent and hard to control, and one day he just broke through the wall of the office and ran off.
I knew it. I told
Tracked him
y'all.
down to this
I
wooded
told
area.
y'all.
It wasn't hard.
Look at these
He
slippers.
created this
They
path of
rocking
destruction wherever he went.
The Yeezy slides.
It
Those
wasn't
are not
anything
the
like he
Yeezy
does
slides.
now, though. He was only about 10 feet tall at the time. When we found him, he was blundering around in circles and spouting nonsense.
So, Siren Head, he was created because they found bodies of people with horns in them. So he decided to like do operation on that one dude that his whole body was like part of Siren Head, and they turned him alive. So that's how them created him. They wanted to get rid of all the death, so They decided to create that sucker. I don't know how that was beneficial, but if you enjoyed the video, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to become an MVP. Capital M, lowercase V, uppercase P. Thank you guys again. Holla at your boy, Siren Head. I'm coming for you. Later.